This is Big Boulder Ski Resort in Lake Harmony, Pennsylvania, and the last place that anyone in my world would ever expect me to be, much less on a pair of skis. But thanks to the encouragement of Mr. Fun, Glenn Riker, the Director of Special Events at Big Boulder, at the age of 48 and never on skis in my life, for the cause, I decided to give it a try. With my brand spanking new ski outfit on, we started at the very beginning and got fitted for my size boot. At the rental shop, it's a station-to-station move to ensure that even the most entry-level skier is supported to the fullest. And the very first movement is the boot, and the fit must be just right.
That's correct. The boot fitting is probably the most important, because if you have hurt feet, the sport just doesn't have the appeal and the fun that it should. So that's what we try to do, give you the best fit, the most comfortable fit, to make your feet feel good on the snow so you can have a quality experience.
Then it was down the line to select the right set of skis for a brand new skier like myself. And again, great care is taken in making sure one is outfitted correctly. The length of skis varies for many reasons: height, weight, experience. And again, great care is taken to make the proper adjustment.
You set it up for your boot size, then from your height, weight, your age, and your ability, we set you up your release pin.
So this is set up before you actually take it out to the slopes.
Right.
Set up right here?
Set up individually for each person.
We were nearly ready to go to work, but we needed the final piece of equipment, the poles. They are used for many different purposes: balance, push off, and guide. And they too require the proper size and comfort. One thing was certain: I looked like a skier, and it was now time to begin. Mr. Fun wanted me to learn every step of the way. And the first stop was the Big Boulder Ski School and the entry-level stations.
Okay, Jim, here at Big Boulder, we have station teaching for what we call never-evers or first-time skiers like yourself. And what we found out in the past is that group lessons for beginners, there's too much peer pressure or they're afraid of going down the wrong terrain. And with the station teaching that we have in this area, you learn at your own pace. You have all day to get through the station. If you want to take a break and eat lunch, you can go eat lunch. If you have to go to the bathroom, if you're cold. All the terrain in here is flat, so we try to stay within your comfort zone.
As raw as one could be, I was daring enough to try. And tomorrow night in part 2, we start to learn the station-by-station movements. And eventually we will head for a run down the slopes at Big Boulder.
Now we'll go all the way around the outside.
One of the very first things that hit me about skiing was the fact that no one should ever take to the slopes without some instruction and a sense of being able to handle themselves as they enjoy the sport.
Well, what we're going to work on here is just being comfortable with sliding. The natural instincts of the body, since the ski is sliding, natural instincts of the body is to tense up and to go back.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So we're just going to slide around here a little bit and get comfortable on one ski.
Okay.
And we'll transfer to the other foot, then we'll do 2 skis.
Mr. Fun, Glenn Riker, and his staff of experts put me and other students through an entry-level station-by-station program, just to let us get used to being on skis, making some turns, and gaining a little confidence.
All you have to do is little steps up to the top. This is sidestepping. We're going to use this later on. Great.
Simply how to turn, how to sidestep, and just glide was enough for me to feel the zest for the sport. And I was anxious to learn everything I could about my first time ever down the hill. But my first hill was small, and the next step of training.
Let it pull you. Let it pull you. There you go. It's nice and slow. Good. How's that?
I ran this course several times as Mr. Fun helped me build my confidence level, and I felt good. And then he offered the line that stopped me cold. Jim, let's go to the top. The ride to the top of the hill was very nice, and we used the time to talk about the learning process and how to address my first run ever down the hill.
That was exciting.
As you can tell, getting off the lift was a small experience, but everything feels funny and cumbersome when you start. But I was excited about the challenge as we skied over to the top of the hill and got ready for the moment of truth.
Mr. Fun, I'm standing on top of a mountain. To me, it's a mountain.
Right.
And you want me on skis to go all the way down. Mike, get a shot of the mountain. Get a shot. I mean, look how far this. See those little dots down there? They're people. And I have to go down to those people.
That's right, standing up on top of the skis.
Can I ride the lift back down?
No.
I gotta go, okay?
On your skis.
We're gone. See you, ladies and gentlemen.
The training obviously took a backseat to terror, but somehow we made it all the way down without falling. When we resume tomorrow in part 3, corrections, more runs, and our first few falls as we continue to learn how to ski at Big Boulder. When we left off yesterday, you had the pleasure of seeing a fairly daring young man, me, picking up speed, giving up on technique, and turning downhill and letting it all hang out. Obviously, that's not the way to do things, and that's all part of the process of learning how to ski.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, somehow I made it down the hill. I don't know how I made it down the hill, but I made it down the hill. Why was I so out of control? I lost you.
We weren't, well, I was completing my turns. You weren't completing your turns. I guess we hadn't worked on completing the turns. You can make the turns, but once you got a little bit back and weren't completing the turns, you got out of your comfort zone, and Mach 10, you were down there.
With a very basic knowledge of what it takes to safely make my way down the slopes, it becomes a matter of repetition. Time on the hill, learning to adjust the speed, learning to execute the turns and work my way down the hill. No question about it, it's most exciting, tremendous fun, and really nice to know that all of us have a chance to enjoy the great outdoors and the sport of skiing.
You know, when you've hit your Mach 10 on a couple of your runs when you took off, you did develop the skills where you knew that people always want to know, well, how do I stop? Well, we don't teach stopping per se, we teach you how to turn. We teach you to turn up into the hill, which controls your speed and thus your stopping.
Confidence-wise, I was beginning to feel pretty good for a guy who never dreamed about putting on skis or going down the slopes until a couple of weeks ago. Mr. Fun felt it was now time to move over to a modest intermediate hill called Tannenbaum. A little steeper terrain, a little more difficult, and this time, the hill one.
I think the biggest fear is the first fall. The first fall, now you're comfortable, you know if you fall again it's not going to be a problem. And what we may need to do a little bit today, because we know that you're a little bit back on your skis, is do some correctional, what we call correctional progressions, where we correct the problem sitting back, and then some reinforcement and development skiing, just so that you own it going down these runs.
It is something that every single skier in history has done. Fallen on the slopes, and I was no exception. I was determined to come back. And tomorrow night in part 4 of our series, we meet some people who encourage me to continue on. Skiers in their 70s and 80s who prove that no one is too young or too old to learn how to ski. In our visit last night, I left you with a definite impression falling down the intermediate slope at Big Boulder. It is all part of the learning process as we take up an invigorating sport in our late 40s, 50s, and 60s, and yes, even older. This athletic ballet skier is 80 years of age, and he started skiing at the young age of 62. His name is Dixon Miller, and he loves every day on the hill.
What do you enjoy about skiing now?
That's my favorite sport.
How often do you come out here?
Almost every day.
So you come out here every day from Blakesley to go skiing?
Almost. It's my 64th day this season.
What one also enjoys is the beauty of the outdoor skiing season. The outfits, the skiers, the kids. And it was another older skier from 40 Fort, Pennsylvania who encouraged me to press on.
The most important thing you can do is take the first time lesson. Begin with the first time, that's very important, because you learn all the basics, and you carry those basics all throughout your skiing experience.
Mr. Fun and another expert, Lloyd Gonzalez, director of skiing at Big Boulder, took me back to Edelweiss, the beginning slope, and we started to break down my technique, correct some of the problems that caused me to fall, and generally speaking, helping me to regain my confidence.
The acceleration of the skis causes us, even subconsciously, to be a little bit defensive, to not want to go down the hill anymore, but to try and stay back up the hill. Unfortunately, the reaction from the skis is that the more you surrender your position to them, the more they dictate what's going to happen. And the tendency will be for them to seek the fall line and go faster.
The only way to really come back from falling and continue to put the learning process to use is to go back to the top of the hill and keep coming down, over and over again. Repetition is the key, and it will usually return big dividends.
The more mileage we get on skis, the less you have to worry about steering your feet, and that's when we can work on something else on your ski and give you a different focus, because now you're steering your feet right through the turn. Both feet you're steering actively through the turn, and that's why you can go top to bottom under a lot more control than we have in the past.
More than anything, I was determined to come down the slope correctly, making my turns, controlling my speed, and enjoying the ride, having fun, and really it's still hard for me to believe that I was actually doing it, loving every spine-tingling moment, and pointing to tomorrow, the final part, and coming back down the intermediate slope under control. We have come a long way in just 5 short days at Big Boulder and Lake Harmony. The equipment set up, the ski school for beginners, the little bitty bunny slope to get used to sliding, the out-of-control run down the beginner slope on day 1, the 3 falls that sent me back on the intermediate hill called Tannenbaum, to the challenge to return. And it was a blast.
As an instructor, that's the most rewarding thing. I like to teach people that have never skied before and take them to this level in 5 days or in an hour, get them down the beginner hill, because the whole idea, as my name says, Mr. Fun, is skiing. That's why people start skiing, is because of the fun. And I like to see someone like you, especially at your age, the chronologically gifted, we like to see you turned on to something like this.
But I still had to conquer the slope where I fell, and I knew that with proper concentration and technique, I could do it. But the experts still helped me work and get ready for what would be for me a very special moment, the comeback down the hill.
It's mileage. We had talked about getting you comfortable on your skis. The first day in the parking lot, you looked up here and said, I'm going to be going down these hills. So it was just a matter of mileage, getting you used to the feeling. In all the days that you've skied maybe 4 or 5 hours, and you just came down an intermediate hill under control, able to turn, avoid other skiers. And it's a matter of skiing a lot, getting the feel of it, taking the lesson, then you and I would take 3 or 4 runs where we didn't talk about anything, and you could get the sensation, and then we'd, go on to something else.
I can't tell you how great it feels to finally put it all together and go all the way down the hill, under control, with some speed, and enjoying the moment. I must thank the senior citizens who constantly encourage me, the instructors who worked alongside of me, the Big Boulder Ski School for the cookies and punch and very nice words, the staff at Big Boulder, and the greatest of them all, Mr. Fun, who has made me a skier. I now have my own skis, my own boots, my own outfit, all of it, and it's great. And remember, if I can do it, anyone can, and enjoy it immensely.